I'm happy to also acknowledge virtually UNECA, Statistics Office that we work very closely with, is also connected. And now we have the European Commission, Eurostat, the Statistics Center for the EU that has also been really working with us closely through under the Pan-African Statistics Program to generate this product. So I'll now invite Mr. Pedro. And hope you can hear me. Please, you're welcome, sir. You have the floor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, honored members of IGAD, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure and honor that I stand before you, even if only virtually, representing Eurostat and the European Union to mark this significant occasion for the launch of the IGAD Statistics Yearbook. This event marks a significant milestone in our collective efforts to advance regional integration, sustainable development, and evidence-based policymaking within the Intergovernmental Authority on Development region. In fact, this publication is not only a testament to the collective efforts of numerous stakeholders, but also a significant milestone in our shared journey towards enhanced regional integration and sustainable development. To this end, allow me to acknowledge the dedication and hard work of all those involved in this project. Special thanks go to Mr. Mohamed Ware, Deputy Executive Secretary of IGAD, for organizing and opening this event, Mr. Anthony Awira, Director of the Planning, Coordination and Partnership Division at IGAD Secretariat, and Mr. Adum Gagolun, Head of the Economic Statistics Division at Statafric, for their joint collective efforts in making this project a success, thanks to their leadership and guidance throughout the whole process. I would also like to recognize Mr. Charles Ogolla, Head of the Statistics Unit at the IGAD Secretariat, and his technical team, whose expertise and commitment were pivotal in this achievement. We are grateful to the representative of the IGAD member states whose contributions were invaluable. This achievement underscores the importance of accurate, reliable, and timely statistical data in shaping policies and decisions that drive progress in our societies. The IGAD region is characterized by its diversity and dynamic challenges. This yearbook offers a clear and accessible presentation of data using tables, charts, and graphs to facilitate interpretation. It provides a robust foundation for evidence-based planning, policy formulation, and decision-making across various sectors. The data contained within these pages will empower policymakers, researchers, and development partners to make informed decisions that will shape the future of the IGAD region with confidence and capability. The European Union, through Eurostat, is proud to have supported this endeavor under the Pan-African Statistics Program, PAS2, and as a representative of Eurostat, I'm particularly proud of our contribution to this initiative. Eurostat's mission is to provide high-quality statistical information to support Europe's decision-making processes. And by extending our expertise and support to the IGAD region, we reaffirm our commitment to fostering international cooperation and development. Through our involvement in the PAS2 program, we have worked closely with IGAD and other African regional organizations to enhance statistical capacity, harmonize data standards, and improve the availability and quality of statistical information. The European Union firmly believes that robust statistical systems are the backbone of effective governance and development. The EU support for statistical development in the IGAD region aligns with our broader objectives of promoting peace, stability, and prosperity through regional integration and cooperation. In this respect, the IGAD Statistics Yearbook is not just a collection of numbers, it is a powerful tool that will empower our partners in monitoring progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, and the African Union's Agenda 2063. It will also enable us to track advancement, identify gaps, and develop targeted interventions that address the specific needs of the IGAD region. As we celebrate this launch, it is important to reflect on the broader context of our work. The IGAD region faces numerous challenges, including food security, climate change, health crisis, and economic disparities. Reliable data is essential for understanding these issues and devising strategies to address them. Looking ahead, the European Union remains committed to supporting IGAD and its member states in their quest for sustainable development and regional integration. We recognize the importance of continuous investment in statistical capacity building and data harmonization. Strengthening our common statistical systems will ensure that future editions of this yearbook remain robust, relevant, and reflective of our progress. In conclusion, I invite you all to explore the IGAD statistic yearbook and to use it extensively with its wealth of information. By utilizing this data, we can work together to create a brighter and more prosperous future for the IGAD region. Let us continue to collaborate, innovate, and strive for excellence in our shared mission of development and integration. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward for our continued collaboration.
Thank you very much, sir, and we want to also appreciate the both technical and financial support we've received through this journey, and we indeed also look forward to the further collaboration. Now we will move to the highlight of this session, and that is now, it's my distinct honor to invite our chief guest and our host, Honorable Cabinet Secretary, Professor Njuguna Ndungu, to officially open this session, and then we move to the launch of the document. Your Excellency, you're welcome.
Thank you. We use this. Thank you very much indeed, and good morning, everyone. I want to recognize Your Excellencies who are in this meeting, and particularly I've met His Excellency Mohamed Ware, Deputy Executive Secretary of the IGAD, and we had very good discussions in terms of the importance of data. And I want to recognize all the Excellencies, distinguished guests this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are well, and welcome to our winter. I'm sure you are feeling it, but I think our winter is also being supplemented by heavy rains, something that we'd never see. And it is testament to the changing environment and changing climate change and the climate change that is taking place. And for me, this is a great pleasure to be here and a privilege to join you in the third session of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, and that is launching the statistics and the Statistics Committee that is has worked very hard to launch the first edition of IGAD Statistics Yearbook, Facts and Figures. In fact, when I look at the brochure here, it is talking about towards reliable, harmonized, timely statistical data for achieving peace, prosperity, and integration in the IGAD region. Quite noble in terms of that kind of, should I say, ambition to achieve. And I wish to commend the great work that IGAD Statistics Committee has actually undertaken in providing professional guidance in the development of programs to implement the IGAD Strategy for Development and Statistics, the RSDS. And the committee has held several sessions since its inception in 2022, with each session adopting a theme that signifies the critical role of statistics in sustainable development. And that has been actually been alluded to by so many of the speakers this morning, and how we can actually provide explicit indicators that guide and reflect, and even how to evaluate the development process. It's actually very, very critical. It's accurate, reliable, timely, and comparable data is key for analytical work that lead to planning, that lead to making policy choices, and that also make decision-making very, should I say, reflective of the situation we are facing, and they also can be used in terms of monitoring and evaluation. Not only monitoring and evaluation, but also reporting progress. And for us, that is very, very important, especially for us who work in public offices that has to show results, that has to report results, and that those results must be accurate. Those results must be predictive so that they show the process, the development path. For me, that is very, very important. For me, that is very encouraging. But with us, need timely and quality data for evidence-based decisions. And even the policies that we make and try to track must be reflective of this. And when we don't have timely data, it becomes a major setback, whether it is policy analysis and whether it's policy making. It's really going to be a setback because you cannot evaluate, you cannot predict, and you cannot even make an assessment of where you're coming from. It is therefore important to applaud those efforts that have gone into the development of the first edition of the IGAD Statistics Yearbook, which we are launching today, and it will be a great source of information for analytical work to guide and assess policy directions. One of the things from my life is that when I see people who don't analyze data or who do not correctly analyze, then I say that they have been left behind. And apparently, most of those who don't analyze data, they make very general statements, but they are not commensurate with the data that we observe. So we always have to remind them that data has shown this. But it also means that if you are telling anybody that data has shown this, it has to be accurate data. It has to be reflective of the reality. So you are correcting a situation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Statistics Yearbook that consolidates key demographic, socio-economic, and environmental statistics for the member states in one volume will be an excellent tool for policymakers. It will also be used by researchers and even other users across the region and the continent. And for us, that is a very, very important yearbook that will aid in terms of tracking progress on implementation of various IGAD strategies and plans. That is a very, very important part. And I do believe that member states have provided information on progress made in the implementation of the IGAD RSDS. For analysts who use data series, the platform has provided a forum for you to share experiences and even best practices, which can be replicated in order to fast-track the implementation of the RSDS across member states so that we can provide appropriate data that is comparable and that is reflective of the situation on the ground. For us, that is quite noble, that is quite important, that is energies that should be supported. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Kenya has made great progress in ensuring high-quality, evidence-based data is available. And through the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, who my colleague from there, Obulo, is here with me, and the activities in terms of data collection, they have modernized the tools such as computer-assisted personal interviews, CAPI, and even alternative data sources, so that they are incorporated and so that they are reflective of the lives we lead. It's a dynamic process, and getting data that actually reflects the dynamic pattern of how we live and how we use the data, and even how the development discourse takes place is very, very important. For example, in 2019, the government developed the first Kenya Strategy for Development Statistics, KSDS, under the theme, providing high-quality, disaggregated statistics to support sustainable development. Across my life, I've tried to use as much data as possible. I've trained my subjects and even my workmates in terms of analyzing that data in whichever method that you can take. I think some of my colleagues, but not even in Kenya, across the whole of Africa, when we meet, they remind me of the analytical work I trained them. Some of them remind me, and some of them are very senior people, by the way, today, but they still remember that I started from a very humble beginning with them and went into all the complexities that they can imagine. But it was one underlying feature, that the data was available. Once data is available, we have no limitations in terms of techniques to analyze that data. The most important thing is that what is the objective? The objective is that you use that data to pinpoint where you're going, to analyze where you are coming from, and to give judgment in terms of the policy directions that is required. And for us, that is a noble task. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is in the process of developing second KSDS for the period 2024-2027, and I'm sure my colleague will be sharing some of those facts, and this will be in line with fourth medium-term plan for Kenya, the Vision 2030, and now one of the strategies that we are implementing, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, that recognizes that most of the Kenyans have been left behind because of policies that do not get to them, because of exogenous shocks that have affected them, but they have been persistent to the point where they have created massive level. When my friend here, when he was talking about even when pastoralists are moving, they analyze a lot of data. One of the things I also wanted to say is that governments themselves also look at what interventions they are going to provide to alleviate that kind of situation. And then I remembered when he was talking, we have had this climate change effect. I wonder whether, for example, animals are more efficient in terms of processing instinct, isn't it? So, for example, our animals that are crossing, what is it called? The grid track. That is, the animals move from Kenya and then to Tanzania and then back. And it's a seasonal cycle. But now there's climate change. We found our lanes in January, isn't it? So the animals will not move. Are they going to move? We need to test. One of the things about climate change is also to observe what is changing around us. This is July, when we anticipate that it's going to be cold, but not. But even if it rains, drizzling, but now we have almost floods in the last 3 days or so. So in a sense, we want to make sure that we bring out data, but also observe the current situation that is happening to us. So that the critical issue that is how to use the data for policy analysis becomes very important. How to use data for prediction, for predictive analysis is also very, very important. How to use data to reflect the realities that we are facing from time to time is very, very important. And that is why we want to make sure that we can use the data to predict the improvements in our lives. For example, cost of living. Most of the time when everybody talked about cost of living in Kenya, I asked them, what are you looking at? And you should know that we observe inflation across different income groups, and we want to look at different baskets of goods in that different income groups. And even other indicators. You see, when, of course, Obudo, when we talk about taxes, we also look at the tax effort, isn't it? I was in government when the tax effort was tax revenue to GDP. I argued across East African region that we should move to 25% so that we protect ourselves and create surpluses in our fiscal side. And then I have come back to the government and realized that Kenya's moved from 22% to 13.7% without any structural effect. So the whole issue, and we'll be working with my friend here, Corey Obudo, to say what actually happened within that period. Was there a structural problem? That's why we are deficient, because we are trying to move back to even 16% and we cannot manage. So those are issues to analyze data and ask ourselves, what are the accompanying effects that we see? And if we have those effects, what do we do? What do we do about them? How do we create interventions? That is why I always argue that when you use data, then you can design policies, you can design programs, and you can design projects and interventions that can actually correct a situation in the development discourse. And that is why data becomes very, very important. I do feel that all this, if it's not done properly, then we can go into the wrong direction. And once you get into the wrong direction, especially with policy, it becomes extremely expensive and painful to correct your direction, or to correct the correct path. Something has to give way. It is very, very expensive. That is why when I look at the theme today in launching this IGAD statistics towards reliable, harmonized, timely statistic data for achieving peace, prosperity, and integration in the IGAD region is very, very important, and is a theme that we can replicate across all data generating institutions, all those institutions that are using that analytical data. You can also make mistakes in the analysis, isn't it? Most of us in the academia, we looked at mistakes that are made in the analysis in packaging policies. So it is on both ends. You get quality data, you get quality analysis. I used to tell my colleagues wherever I've worked that I don't give any excuses when analytical prowess is not used. But it is very much dependent on the input you get. And I think we can do better. We can design policies. We can design policy reforms. We can design programs. We can design projects. And then we can define appropriate incentives or appropriate interventions that are very, very critical for us. So I do believe that it is very important. It's a subject matter I can talk about for a long time, because I know how important it is. I know how, when I was a young man, I used to walk all the way to the KNBS, by the way, Budho. I used to walk there, and from the University of Nairobi, get the data. It was difficult to get the data until we realized that actually you can actually have a series of several economics abstracts, and then you can be getting data. But you still wanted disaggregated data, so you still have to go there. And it shows the importance that all along you have to go there to get that disaggregated data. And then when you analyze that data, then you can use different methods and appropriate technologies that are coming to right now. That is why it becomes very important. It actually worries me today whether anybody does any analysis. We come up with brutal conclusions, but no analytical prowess. Most of the information that you're getting is through, it is not data you're getting. Nobody is telling you inflation in Kenya. What is inflation in Kenya? I used to ask some people just by surprise. Inflation is measured by CPI. And inflation is always coming with 1 month lag, isn't it? So right now we can talk about inflation in June. It was 4.6%. But if I went to a crowd and asked that, I am sure that I would get no one who knows what inflation number is, because information is so free, it's available in the internet, it's WhatsApp messages and all that. We have failed to go to the original data. So somebody can tell me the cost of living and say, what is the inflation? He doesn't know. So let's keep ourselves abreast, because that's the only way you can tell. By the way, it is much easier to say, what is the exchange rate to Kenya? Everybody will know the answer. By the way, do you know why? Because most of us are trading. So it also shows that you use the data because it's important to you, isn't it? You are using it on a daily basis. But those things that you are not using on a daily basis, you have to go to search. The beauty about today is that the search cost has become very low. It's very low now, isn't it? You can go to Google and you get all the answers you want. Even the exchange rate, you actually can Google, isn't it? But then we can use that technology to actually update ourselves at all times. So as I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to congratulate the IGAD on the successful development and even the launch of the first edition of the IGAD Statistical Yearbook. The statistics yearbook is very, very important to us because we not only get the information on Kenya, but we also compare it across the IGAD group. And so you can imagine we can repackage policies for the IGAD using the data, the statistics yearbook. And that is very, very important so that we can see across what is it we want to see. Can we start by looking at trade across the countries? Can we start looking at comparabilities of data? Any data point that you want to pick, and we can look at it. Cost of living, okay? We can look at it. There are so many indicators that we can generate at the aggregate level and comparability. And for us, that is very, very important. But the most important thing is that it is my hope the IGAD Statistical Yearbook will be produced and released regularly so that we have an expectations that we can have a chain of data that we can use from time to time. But it's also possible that we can evaluate the policy space and the developments in the IGAD, because the IGAD was created for prosperity, for peace, for integration, and even for development. So we need to look into that. And the government of Kenya can, in itself, affirms its commitment to support this cause and look forward to providing necessary leadership whenever it is called for or it is called upon in the spirit of regional cooperation, but also showcase so that we don't create data gaps in the process, but also we try to use that data to push the reforms and even the development agenda we want in the IGAD. And in addition, we want to make sure that, and especially from my end, I have to advocate for analytical capacity of that data, because we cannot use that data if we also don't revise our own analytical capacity, so that the analysis, the policy analysis, and the policy direction can be well informed. And that is what is going to be very, very important, that the statistics yearbook is used for specific purposes, for specific direction, and can be evaluated. And now, for me, that was my conclusion, but the most important thing is that it was a great honor to launch this edition, and I'm sure we can do the official thing of launching the book. Thank you very much. Asante sana.
Please, another round of applause for our chief guest, and thank you very much, Excellency, for those very inspiring remarks, and it was really nice hearing emphasis to the value of data and information. And I want to really thank you again with utmost appreciation. Now I'm requesting the event team to organize the So we will now do the symbolic launch of the book, of the publication that has now already officially been announced.